Dodge City is one of the most famous towns of the Wild West, a place where Texas cowboys brought huge herds of longhorns, and where lawmen like Bat Masterson and Wyatt Earp walked the streets. But when the last day of October rolled around, how did the people of Dodge City celebrate Halloween? The modern tradition of trick-or-treating, giving away candy to children dressed up and going from house to house, did not become popular until the 1920s and the 1930s. Halloween in the United States during the 19th and early 20th century was celebrated a little differently. Halloween festivities could roughly be divided into two: pranks and parties. If you were a child or teenager, then Halloween meant pulling pranks, which could range from being quite innocent to the destruction of property. If you were an adult, then Halloween meant parties, drinking, playing games, and possibly even occult practices, like trying to contact the dead or predict the future. The Halloween activities in Dodge City during the late 1800s were normally one of these: pranks or parties. The Wild West period for Dodge City is normally considered to be from 1872 to 1885 or 1886. From 1872 to 1874, Dodge City was primarily a buffalo hunting center, and from 1875 to 1885, it was a bustling cow town. Halloween is barely mentioned in the Dodge City newspapers during this time. Part of the reason for this might be because by October 31st, the cattle season would have been over, and Dodge City would have grown more quiet. The first time I found that Halloween was mentioned in Dodge City was in 1884 in the Globe Livestock Journal newspaper. Halloween was looked over by the young folks of the city, or else their mischief was kept pretty quiet. Now, this was not the case in 1884 for the nearby town of Spearville. Halloween made its annual appearance and may have passed unnoticed by many if it had not been manifested by vehicles, signs, plows, and various other articles being disarranged. One man could be seen hunting his buggy, another a wagon wheel, another a cart, and so forth, which brought forth vehement expressions, and expressions to the effect if their cart, wagon, or some other article had not been disturbed, their peace of mind would not have remained undisturbed. It is remarkable how well the boys remember a night of so little importance. Halloween in Dodge City must have remained quiet for the years of 1885 and 1886, as there was no mention of it in the papers. In 1887, the citizens of Dodge City enjoyed a circus on Halloween. If you don't intend to visit but one circus and menagerie this season, take our advice, along with your family, and witness the only really big show that will come to Dodge City October 31st this year, which is the Old John Robinson's 10 gigantic shows combined for 1887, and you will see a confederation of marvels and miracles and curiosities that have taken 63 years of diligent and faithful service to accumulate. The next year, in 1888, Dodge City was again quiet for Halloween. Political enthusiasm ran so high during the past 2 weeks that even the small boy forgot to get in his work on Halloween. Halloween in 1889 also went by with little to speak of. Finally, in the 1890s, the people of Dodge City really began to celebrate the holiday. In 1890, it was described, "All Halloween, with its superstitions and innocent observances, occurred last Friday, and although the young men and ladies of our city did not to any great extent indulge in the old-time custom of consulting Dame Fortune as to their individual destinies, yet we had evidences on the following morning that the witches had been in our midst, probably acting through the angelic medium of the small boy. The usual gate was taken from its hinges. Buses, wagons, and buggies were hauled away, besides nearly everything movable, and early Saturday morning, the hollow on 3rd Avenue, North, resembled a general auction stand." From the Dodge City Times, it was mentioned, "Halloween occurred on Thursday the 13th. The small boy remembered it, and the solid citizen was reminded of it the next morning." In 1893, Halloween parties started becoming more popular in Dodge City. Miss Alice Shaw gave a Halloween party last Tuesday evening. The newspaper gave a much more in-depth description of one of the Halloween parties. On Halloween, a novel entertainment occurred at the house of Miss Grace Whitworth. Invitations had previously been issued by 8 young ladies to as many young gentlemen to attend a party on that evening, the place not mentioned. The names of all the girls giving the party being signed to the invitation. The boys were advised to start early, that they might find the girls before the 31st of October should draw to a close. The sterner and wiser sex were very sanguine. They would have no searching to do, they said, as some of the girls would give it away. The boys convened themselves about 7 p.m. and started in search of the girls. In the meantime, the girls were coming one at a time through the alley, side gates, or any other way to get there unobserved, as they knew they were being carefully watched by the boys. They were secreted in different parts of the house by Mrs. Whitworth. The gentleman called at one of the homes, made a thorough search of the house, found they were sold, then went on up Railroad Avenue. They found Dr. and Mrs. Whitworth in the parlor reading, and no one else to be seen. Concluded that could not be the place, so passed on, searching one house after another, but without avail. Coming back down the street, they convened under the light, and frequently sent out a spy to investigate. Finally, about 9:30, they came in and searched the house, but finding no one, searched the sheds and yard, came back and finally found their hiding places, being obliged to admit that girls can keep a secret. The girls rejoiced to know that the boys had been so completely sold. After partaking of some fine refreshments prepared by the girls, they played tricks and games until the wee small hours and dispersed, all declaring that they had a most enjoyable evening and wished Halloween would come twice a year. As for the pranks on Halloween in 1893, the authorities in Dodge City were better prepared. Mayor Gluck and the marshals of our city deserve a vote of thanks for the way they managed All Halloween night in this city. The practice has usually been by the hoodlums to do all the damage to property that could be done in the way of tipping over outhouses and other depredations. But this year, the mayor and officers were on the alert, and our city was entirely free from any of these demonstrations. In 1894, Halloween parties in Dodge City were quite popular. The Degree of Honor, AOUW, will give a Halloween ball October 31st. Visitors from Garden City, Spearville, Cimarron, Kinsley, and other points are expected. The Degree of Honor referred to was a lady social organization, which was a branch of the fraternal organization known as the Ancient Order of United Workmen. There was even a party at the Sewell College in Dodge City. In order that the college students might give vent to their Halloween enthusiasm without annoying anyone, Mrs. Reverend Rose gave them a Halloween party in her parlors in the boarding hall at the college. Members of the faculty attended, and they had a very social evening together. Halloween pranks were still going on. On November 2nd, the Globe Republican newspaper asked, "Who is using Reverend Vaughn's buggy Halloween night?" In 1896, Dodge City was treated to music on Halloween. The Dodge City Band celebrated Halloween by serenading in different parts of the city. But the boys desire to disclaim all responsibility for the devilment done that night. Halloween in 1897 was focused on pranks. As is usual in Kansas, the police made all kinds of threats about what they would do with the boys if the boys acted unruly on Halloween. And as usual, the boys went ahead and acted unruly in spite of the police. City Marshal Rhodes arrested several of the Halloween property destroyers Tuesday night. 12 boys were brought before Police Judge Jackson last evening, and each boy was fined $5 and costs. The fines stand unpaid for the present, and in consideration that the boys make good the repairs to H.R. Brown's wagon, which was badly damaged Halloween night. This is a good lesson. The boys will pay for repairs to Mr. Brown's wagon. In 1898, Halloween pranks were still the norm. The work of Halloween spirits, impersonated by the mischievous element of Dodge City's youthful population, was somewhat in evidence in different parts of the city Tuesday morning. Some schoolboys played Halloween tricks Monday night. They put a cabbage head on each school desk, took down the bell clapper, and did other mischievous things, and damage to the extent of $2 or $3. Finally, in 1899, there was still a mixture of pranks and parties. The bell clapper from the high school was stolen, but after a few days, the newspaper reported, the bell clapper, which was taken on Halloween, was returned, and at least one Halloween party was attended. Miss Eleanor Milton gave a Halloween party on last Tuesday evening. The following are a list of those present. After all of the Halloween parties mentioned, you might be wondering what exactly went on at one. In 1899, an article was published in many Kansas and Oklahoma newspapers, describing how Halloween parties should be conducted. In Dodge City, it was published in the Globe Republican newspaper. Halloween parties. All formality must be dispensed with on Halloween night. Not only will quaint customs and mystic tricks be in order, but the decorations and refreshments, and even the place of meeting, must be as strange and mystifying as possible. For the country or suburban home, a roomy barn is decidedly the best accommodation that could be provided. If this is not practicable, a large attic running the entire length of the house is the next choice. But if this also is denied the ambitious hostess, let the kitchen be the place of meeting and of mystery, with the dining room, cleared of its usual furniture and decorated suitably for the occasion, reserved for the refreshments. The light should be supplied only by jack-o'-lanterns, hung here and there about the kitchen, with candles in the dining room. The decorations need not be expensive to be charming, no matter how large the room. Large vases of ferns and chrysanthemums and umbrella stands of fluffy grasses will be desirable. But if these cannot be readily obtained, quantities of gaily tinted autumn leaves will be quite as appropriate. And where a trip to the woods can be made, the beauties of the goldenrod and other wild flowers will prove effective and satisfactory. Refreshments are usually served in a way as primitive as possible. One lady had a large wooden trencher that had belonged to her grandmother. This was filled with nuts, raisins, apples, and candy, and placed in the middle of the table. Each guest was furnished with a nutcracker and tin plates. In a large tin plate, there were donuts and molasses cake, and a large pitcher of cider was also supplied. If the night is clear and still, a rousing fire of leaves, twigs, and brushwood may be built before the house. If there are grates or open fireplaces, a wood fire is the most desirable light. Many people are fond of toasting marshmallows. For this, provide long sticks upon which to put the candy for toasting. They are immediately passed to the guests, who eat them while hot. Games of checkers, fox and geese, and dancing are among the favorite amusements, the latter usually finishing the entertainment, which closes promptly at midnight. Another diversion for the evening is the telling of ghost stories. Have each guest prepared to tell one. A pretty way of distributing the favors for a Halloween party is to put them in white pasteboard boxes of triangular shape, arranged with the points coming to a common center, so as to resemble a cake. The guests draw. One box contains the fool's cap, which must be worn all the evening by the unlucky recipient.